Well, hello, another video blog from the Mayor's office, and touching on some of the stuff that's going on around Christchurch at the moment, as well as the massive infrastructure rebuild that's going on under the roads, the new Ferrymead Bridge, which is a major piece of engineering work, piles going down into the bed of the Heathcote River there, maybe 25 metres. That's like a 5 or 6 story building. But it's a very important piece of infrastructure in the city, and it's one of our lifeline bridges, so it's getting a lot of money spent to make it strong and safe for the future. I've just come back from the Botanic Gardens. It's 150 years in July that the Botanic Gardens were established in Christchurch in 1863. And in fact, there was an old oak tree, which is right over by the, where the band rotunda is around the back of the hospital. And there's a bridge goes from the Botanic Gardens over to a kind of a daffodil meadow. Well, just before you cross that bridge, you'll notice there's a wonderful old oak tree that was planted in 1863. It's where the Botanic Gardens began, and actually it was planted in honour of Prince Albert. Today, 150 years later, we planted in the ground an extraordinary pine tree that came from Australia. And you might think, why are you planting a pine tree in the Botanic Gardens? But this is an ancient tree. It was thought to be extinct and found in the fossil records in New Zealand and in Australia, and probably Antarctica as well, because the tree is many tens, probably hundreds of millions of years old as a species. And this particular tree was rediscovered in the Blue Mountains out the back of Sydney. Some tissue cultures were taken after years of negotiation and then careful plant husbandry. We planted the specimen in the gardens today as the first tree in a new section of the Botanic Gardens called the Gondwana Land Garden. And the tree, well, that was one of the major plants in Gondwana land. So it's come home in a really strange sense, I guess. The Buskers Festival's been an extraordinary success. I think the number was something in excess of 300,000 people. About 350,000 people managed to get through the various shows over the 11 days, and it's brought in a lot of money to the city, which is always good. But maybe more importantly, in this brilliant summer that we're enjoying, it's brought a lot of fun as well. And if you missed out on the Buskers Festival, then make sure you don't ever let that happen again. It was brilliant. And every year it just seems to get better and better. They'll be back next year. Something that you might like to go and see that's on at the moment, though, was an exhibition that I had the pleasure and honour of opening at the Canterbury Museum back in November of last year. And it runs through to June this year. It's a very important exhibition for Christchurch, but it's a lovely one to look at as well. Scott's Last Expedition. And there are some amazing artefacts and brilliant photographs, and it's an extraordinary insight into the human side of one of the great explorations in history of Antarctica, which of course was initially based here in Christchurch, has a lot of connections to our city historically. Well, that's in building consent terms, and the city have just hit a new record. Actually, it's equivalent to the previous record number of consents and value of consents, $375 million worth of new building consented over the last 3 months. So that's a great sign for the future of the city. And finally, I just wanted to acknowledge Paul Holmes, who's very unwell at the moment, and many of you will know that Paul really set out and started in his broadcasting career, in the early days anyway, here in Christchurch. So a lot of people remember those days, even though it was quite a while ago, and our thoughts are very much with Paul. Cheers.